Let me tell you something they don't want you to know. Change isn't slow. It's not some impossible marathon. It's not buried in 10 years of therapy or locked behind the walls of some Ivy League education. You've been lied to by people who said lied to, by systems that benefit when you stay exactly where you are. They told you success takes a lifetime, that greatness is reserved for the lucky few, that if it hasn't happened by now, maybe it's just not meant to be. It's stuck behind habits that don't serve you, stuck behind beliefs that don't belong to you, stuck behind fears that were planted in you since childhood. Think about it. How many times have you said, I'll start Monday? How many January 1sts have come and gone with goals unfulfilled? How many times have you waited for motivation to strike like lightning, only to find yourself right back in the same cycle? Not because you're weak, not because you're lazy, but because you've been tricked, conditioned, programmed to believe that transformation is for other people. Let's talk real life. You know that person who lost 50 pounds in 6 months. That person didn't get lucky. They got fed up. They changed their mindset before they changed their body. Or that man who finally quit drinking after 10 years of addiction. You think he waited for the stars to align? No, he hit a moment of truth. He made a decision. Change is instant. The decision to change happens in a flash. The transformation, that's the process. And most people, they never even reach that first second. That flash of I'm done living this way. You've been walking in circles, thinking you're making progress. But if you're moving without direction, that's not a journey, it's a loop. And the loop is comfortable. That's the trap. Because comfort feels like progress, but it's a lie. You stay in a bad job, not because you can't leave, but because it's predictable. You stay in toxic habits, not because they help, but because they're familiar. Change doesn't take time, it takes courage. It takes 1 second of clarity to say enough, 1 second to burn the excuses, 1 second to declare war on average. The ones who rise aren't the ones with more time, they're the ones who stop wasting it. So ask yourself, how long have you been waiting to become who you already know you could be? How much longer are you going to wait for permission to change what you're perfectly capable of changing today? The moment you decide you're done making excuses, that's when change begins. Not next month, not after the next failure. Because once you see the truth, once you realize the chains holding you back were never locked, you'll stop looking for the key and you'll start walking out. You think you're making choices, but most of what you believe, most of how you act wasn't chosen, it was programmed. You didn't wake up one day and decide I want to doubt myself. You didn't choose to fear judgment. You didn't sign up for procrastination, anxiety, or playing it small. It was installed in you, quietly, repeatedly, without your permission. From the moment you were a child, the world started shaping you. Teachers told you what you were good at and what you weren't. Parents passed down their fears like family heirlooms. Friends told you who you should be to fit in. And society, it screamed at you through screens and billboards. Be this, look like that, don't stand out, don't speak too loud. And over time, the code got written, line after line, shaping your self-image, your behaviors, your limits. Let me ask you, when was the last time you questioned your beliefs? Not just about the world, but about you. Where did the belief that you're not enough come from? When did you start believing success was for other people? Who told you that your past defines your future? Because I promise you, that belief didn't come from your potential. It came from your programming. And here's the catch. They didn't program you to thrive. They programmed you to survive, to stay safe, to follow rules, to avoid risk. That might have protected you as a child, but now it's the very thing that's holding you hostage. You're running on autopilot, reacting instead of deciding, hesitating instead of acting, existing instead of living. But here's the wake-up call. You may not have written the original code, but you damn well have the power to rewrite. You are not a slave to your conditioning. You are not bound by what you were told or what you've been through. Let me give you a real-world example. Ever heard of Jim Carrey? He was raised in poverty, watched his father, a man with incredible talent, fail because he played it safe. But Jim didn't copy that code. He rewrote it. He visualized success, spoke it, lived it. And that shift, that mental rewrite, It turned a broke kid into a global icon. What about Oprah Winfrey? Abused, rejected, overlooked. You think she didn't carry the weight of old programming? She shattered it. And you can too, because the mind is a machine, but you are the engineer. And if the thoughts you're running every day don't serve you, then it's time to pull the plug and start again. You've been programmed without permission. Now it's time to reprogram with intention. Decide what beliefs you're keeping and which ones you're burning. Choose the voice you want to listen to and silence the rest. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming who you were before the world told you who to be. And that version of you, it's still in there, buried, not broken, sleeping, not gone. It's time to wake it up. What if everything could change in just 21 days? Not in 5 years, not after another heartbreak, not after life calms down, but 21 days from today, you become someone else, someone unshakable, someone powerful, someone driven. Let me ask you something. How long have you been stuck in the same place, waiting for a sign, waiting for perfect conditions, waiting until you feel ready? But the truth is, change doesn't care how you feel. Change cares what you do. And in 21 days, you can do enough to never be the same again. That's not hype, that's reality. Because when you show up every single day without compromise, you don't just build habits, you build a new identity. Think about it like this. A sculptor doesn't see a block of marble, he sees the statue hidden inside. But the only way to bring it out is to chip away day after. That's what this 21-day challenge is. It's not just a program, it's a chisel, a tool to chip away everything you're not until all that's left is who you were meant to be. And here's why it works. Because most people never stay consistent long enough to see change happen. They sprint for 3 days, then disappear for 10. They try to build a new life on broken routines and shallow commitment. But what if for just 21 days, you stopped quitting? What if you did the work even when it sucked, even when even when it felt like nothing was happening? That's when the shift begins. Because the transformation isn't just physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's cellular. You wake up differently, you walk differently, you think differently. You stop needing motivation because you've got momentum. You stop chasing potential because you're living it. Let's be real, 21 days is not your whole life. It's 3 weeks. 3 weeks of laser-focused effort that will outwork 3 years of kind of trying. You've seen people do. The friend who finally started their business after years of talking, the person who kicked an addiction after decades of struggle, the student who went from failing to graduating at the top. They didn't change overnight, but they made a decision and they didn't break. So here's the truth. You are not far from the life you want. You are not missing anything magical. You are not too late, too old, too broken, or too tired. You're just 21. The only question is, will you show up for the next 21 days? Or will you wake up 21 days from now in the exact same place with the same pain, asking yourself why you didn't start? Start now. Start broken. Start scared. But start, because 21 days from now, you won't just be better, you'll be reborn. Let's get one thing straight right now. You are not broken. You are not flawed. You are not cursed. You are not weak, lazy, or unmotivated. You are wired for one thing: survival. See, most people walk around thinking they're failing because they don't have discipline, because they can't stop procrastinating, because they crack under pressure or run from risk. But let me tell you something that might change how you see everything. You're not failed. You're functioning exactly the way you were built to. Your brain isn't designed to make you rich, ripped, or respected. Your brain's first job is to keep you alive. And that means one thing: avoid pain, chase comfort, conserve energy. That's survival mode. And guess what? It works. It's why you instinctively avoid rejection, why you hesitate before taking risks, why you stay in your comfort zone even when it's crushing you. Your brain is doing its job. It's protecting you. But here's the catch. Success doesn't live in survival. It lives in risk, in growth, in discomfort. Let me put it this way. A lion doesn't get stronger sleeping in the sun. It grows when it hunts, when it chases, when it moves. And you've been asleep in survival mode, because that's what the system teaches you to do. Play it safe. Don't stand out. Don't question anything. Be average. Blend in. Stay still. But you weren't born to survive. You were born to thrive, to create, to fight, to build something bigger than just getting by. Think about someone like me. I was overweight, abused, insecure, But I flipped the switch. I said I will not live in survival mode anymore. Now I runs ultramarathons and breaks mental limits most people wouldn't dare touch. Or take someone like J.K. Rowling, single mom, broke, rejected by dozens of publishers, but she didn't accept that her brain's fear of failure was a stop sign. She saw it as a test, and she passed it. Because here's the truth, your default settings are not your destiny. Yes, your mind is wired to survive, but you have the power to reprogram that wire. You can teach yourself that fear doesn't mean run, it means get ready. That discomfort doesn't mean stop, it means you're growing. That pain isn't punishment, it's proof that you're alive. So no, you are not broke. You are running an old program on powerful hardware. And starting today, we're going to rewrite the code. We're going to flip the switch from survival to success. But first, you have to understand this. You will never grow if you keep avoiding discomfort, because every excuse you make is your brain trying to keep you safe. And every breakthrough you chase is just on the other side of that fear. So here's your new command. Comfort is the enemy. Growth is the mission. Survival is no longer enough. You weren't made for mediocrity. You were made for more. And it starts when you stop playing by your brain's old rules. When you stop asking, will this be easy? And start asking, will this make me stronger? Because the life you want, it doesn't come to the safe, it comes to the bold. Your mind is a garden. It can grow powerful ideas, beautiful dreams, and unstoppable momentum, but only if it's cared for, only if it's protected. And right now, your garden's full of weeds. You don't need someone to tell you that. You feel it. That voice in your head that says you're not good enough. That hesitation that keeps you from starting. That excuse you keep using. I'll do it tomorrow. Those are weeds, and the longer they stay, the deeper they grow. They choke your confidence. They steal your energy. They crowd out the very things that could transform your life. Let's name them. Self-doubt, the most silent killer of dreams. It doesn't yell, it whispers. Who do you think you are? You're not ready. What if you fail? Let me tell you something. Self-doubt doesn't show up when you're failed. It shows up right before you do something great. Right before you break through. Right before the version of you that's been playing small starts to fall away. It's not a warning sign. It's a signal that you're about to grow. Then there's fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of judgment. Fear of change. But here's the truth. Fear is a liar. It tells you the pain of trying will be worse than the pain of staying the same. It convinces you that avoiding the hard stuff is safer. But let me ask you, has playing it safe ever made you proud? Have you ever looked back and said, I'm so glad I stayed comfortable? No. You regret the chances you didn't take, the words you didn't say, the action you didn't commit to, and finally delay. Procrastination, the art of lying to yourself with beautiful logic. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right moment. You say you're preparing. You say you're just not ready, but you're not preparing. You're hiding. You're not busy. You're scared. And delay, it's the most dangerous weed of all, because it feels harmless, but it steals your life, one wasted day at a time. Weeds don't pull themselves. If you don't actively rip them out, they will take over your entire mind. You'll look up one day and realize years have passed, and all your potential is buried under layers of hesitation and fear. But it doesn't have to stay that way. You see, a single decision, just one, can shift everything. A decision to start, to act in spite of fear, to speak louder than self-doubt, to show up even when your brain says not today. Real change doesn't begin when the world changes. It begins when you look in the mirror and say, no more. These weeds don't belong here. Because once you start pulling them, once you start replacing fear with action, doubt with discipline, delay with urgency, you don't just change your mindset, you change your life. So take a look at your garden. What's growing? What needs to go? And more importantly, when are you going to start pulling? Before you can change anything, before you build new habits, new routines, or a new identity, you have to recognize what's already running your life. Because you can't fix what you won't face. You can't upgrade your mind while pretending the current software isn't full of glitches. And make no mistake, your mind is running software. Thoughts, beliefs, patterns, reactions, most of them installed without your knowledge, most of them outdated, most of them working against the person you want to become. But here's the good news, awareness is power. The moment you stop blaming and start observing, that's when everything starts to shift. Let's break it down. You wake up and the first thought is, ugh, I'm tired. You open your phone and scroll through other people's highlight reels. You drink coffee, not water, skip breakfast, complain about traffic. You go through the day, reacting, not deciding. Now pause, ask yourself, who's in control of that routine? Is that you? Or is that the code you've been running without question? See, reprogramming your mind doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with recognition. Recognition of the moments when you choose comfort over challenge, when you shrink instead of speak, when you break your word to yourself and call it no big deal. But it is a big deal. Because every time you break your word to yourself, you build a habit of mistrust. You reinforce the lie that you're not capable, and slowly your self-worth erodes until you stop expecting anything better from your life. You know what real strength is, not pretending you're okay, not smiling through struggle. Real strength is saying, this thought doesn't serve me, this habit doesn't help me, this belief isn't mine, and then doing something about it. Think of your mind like a playlist. If you keep listening to tracks titled I can't, I'll fail, or I'm not enough, don't be surprised when the music of your life feels like chaos. You've got to change the track, but you can't do that until you realize what's playing. Even the most successful people, athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, they all had to start with brutal self-awareness. Kobe Bryant didn't become great by ignoring his weaknesses. He studied them obsessively. He recognized what needed fixing and then went to war with it. So here's your moment of truth. What thoughts are looping in your head every day? What stories do you keep telling yourself about who you are and what you deserve? What patterns are killing your progress? You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest. Because honesty opens the door to healing, and healing is the first step to reprogramming. Say it out loud if you have to. I've been running on autopilot, but I'm taking the wheel now. No more blind obedience to old beliefs. No more excuses masked as logic. No more delay disguised as strategy. Recognition is the first crack in the wall. The light that gets in, the proof that the story can change. And once you recognize the weeds, the code, the autopilot, you're not just reacting anymore. Success doesn't care how you feel. Let that sink in. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're inspired. It doesn't care if you don't feel like it today. Because success is not built on emotions. It's built on execution. It's not a lightning bolt of motivation. It's a system, a structure, a formula. And if you follow the formula, you get the results. See, too many people are chasing a feeling instead of following a process. They wait to feel confident before they take action. They wait to feel ready before they begin. But confidence doesn't come before the work. It comes from the work. Read that again. You don't need a mood. You need a method. Let's get real. If you only go to the gym when you're motivated, you'll never get in shape. If you only work hard on days you feel like it, your goals will stay stuck in your imagination. But if you commit to the process, if you show up no matter what, that's when success shows up too. Think of it like baking a cake. You don't bake by hoping the ingredients magically fall together. You follow the recipe. You measure. You mix. You wait. And guess what? If you follow the steps, you get the cake. Success is no different. Want to get stronger? There's a formula for that. Lift heavy. Eat right, rest, repeat. Want to build a business? There's a formula. Solve a problem, add value, serve people, keep learning. Want to reprogram your mind? Same deal. Input the right thoughts, repeat the right actions, and cut the noise. But here's where most people fall off. They get emotional. They confuse hard with impossible. They expect the path to feel good the whole time. Let me be clear. Success doesn't always feel good, but it always feels worth it. Just look at someone like Serena Williams. You think she felt like training every morning at 5 a.m.? No, but she followed the formula. Consistency, reps, recover, repeat. Or Elon Musk, who slept on the floor of his factory when things got hard. Why? Because emotion couldn't build the dream, but process could. So let me ask you, what's your formula? Do you even have, or are you hoping that someday you'll feel like showing up long enough to change your life? Here's the truth. If your actions are based on feelings, your results will always be inconsistent. But if your actions are based on discipline, on principle, on structure, your results become predictable. I'm not saying easy, I'm saying inevitable. Because success isn't some mystery, it's math. So stop chasing motivation, stop waiting for the stars to align, stop asking, what's the secret, and start following the steps. Success is a formula, and if you respect it, it will reward you. But if you ignore it,
You'll always be the person who almost made it. Don't be that person. Be the one who shows up, locks in, and executes, no matter how it feels. Let's break this down. You want to reprogram your mind. You want to kill the old habits and install the mindset that wins. Good. Then you need to know the path. You don't stumble into transformation. You structure it. This is not random. This is not motivational fluff. This is a mission. And like any mission, it's got phases. 3 to be exact. 3 distinct stages that pull you out of who you've been and force you to become who you were meant to be. You cannot build something new on top of something broken. You cannot decorate dysfunction. You must demolish what doesn't serve you. This phase is about tearing down the excuses, the addictions, the mental crutches. You stop numbing yourself with distractions. You silence the noise. You destroy the false beliefs. I can't. I'm not ready. I'm not enough. Because pain is part of the process. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. Think of it like this: before you renovate a house, you gut the old walls, you strip the mold, you tear out the rot, you get down to the frame. That's what this phase is. It's your mental demolition. Now that you've cleared the space, it's time to build. Not just new habits, a new identity. This is where you learn to program your mind with intention, daily affirmation, visualization, act as if behavior. You don't wait to feel confident. You behave like the person you want to become. Because behavior shapes belief. You build morning rituals. You take control of your time. You control your inputs, what you watch, what you read, who you talk to. Every action becomes a brick. Every day a wall. Every week a fortress. You're not playing pretend. You're building a new operating system. This is where most people fail. They do the work for a week, maybe 2, then they vanish. Why? Because they underestimate the power of consistency. This final phase is about reinforcement, locking it in, making it stick. You create non-negotiables. You adopt a no 0 days rule. Do something for your growth. Every day, no matter how small. You review your progress. You track your habits. You hold yourself accountable. Think about Olympic athletes. They don't train when they feel like it. They reinforce excellence through daily discipline, even when no one's watching. This is the phase where mindset becomes identity, where the reps become reality, where you go from trying to living. So here it is. 3 phases, 1 mission. Rewire your mind. Reclaim your power. No shortcuts, no skipping steps. If you follow this process, you will not just change what you do, you will change who you are. Life has a way of burying us. The weight of failure, the dirt of rejection, the crushing load of disappointment. And when it happens, most people believe it's the end. They believe they've been broken, shattered beyond repair. But let me tell you something. You haven't been broken. You've been buried. And there's a big difference. A seed is buried too. But the burial of a seed is not its death. It's its beginning. A seed has to be pushed under the dirt, hidden in the darkness, and pressed down by weight before it can rise. That's the process of growth. That's the transformation you've been going through. Every rejection, every setback, every failure. It wasn't the end of you. It was the soil pressing in, preparing you for rebirth. You weren't meant to stay down there. You were meant to push through. And now, just like that seed, you're ready to break the ground and rise higher than anyone thought possible. Think about it. Some of the greatest people in history were buried by circumstances. Nelson Mandela buried in a prison cell for 27 years. Oprah buried under rejection and childhood trauma. Thomas Edison buried under thousands of failed attempts. They weren't broken, they were planted. And when they rose, they changed the world. So don't call it defeat. Don't call it the end. Call it your planting season, because now it's your time to rise. Let's be honest, motivation is temporary. Motivation is like caffeine. It wears off, it fades when life hits you hard. And that's why most people quit, because they rely on motivation alone. But you're different. You're not motivated. You're activated. Activation is deep. It's not just a feeling, it's an identity. When you're activated, you don't wait until you feel like it. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need permission. You act because it's who you are now. Think about the difference. A motivated person says, I'll try. An activated person says, I will. A motivated person says, I hope it happens. An activated person says, I'll make it happen. This is the shift you've made. You're not someone chasing discipline anymore. You are discipline. You're not someone chasing resilience. You are resilience. This isn't a performance. This isn't temporary hype. This is your identity. And once your identity changes, your destiny changes. From this moment forward, you don't need another pep talk. You don't need someone to remind you. You don't need another push, because you're no longer waiting to be motivated. You've been activated, and that activation doesn't fade. It only grows stronger with every action you take. This is where it all comes together. You've heard the truth. You've been challenged. You've been reminded of who you are. But now it's decision time. 21 days. That's all it takes to reprogram your mind, to rewrite the story you've been living, to prove to yourself that you can rise, you can fight, and you can win. One decision. That's all it requires. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Right now. Because the truth is, you'll never feel perfectly ready. But if you decide now, if you commit now, your future will look completely different. Zero excuses. That's the deal. Excuses are what kept you buried. Excuses are what kept you buried. Excuses are what kept you believing you couldn't. But that ends today. No more excuses. Only action. Only commitment. Only forward. So say it with me. 21 days. One decision. Zero excuses. Again. 21 days, one decision, zero excuses. One more time. 21, one decision, zero excuses. This isn't just a phrase, it's your new foundation, your battle cry, your declaration of war against the old you. And when you look back, when you see what you've built, who you've become, and how far you've risen, you'll realize this truth. You were never broken, you were only planted. You were never weak, you were only waiting to be activated. And the person you were always meant to be, the strongest, fiercest, most unstoppable version of you, has been here all along. This is who you really are, and nothing, and no one can bury you again.